For more on this big contest, CBS News chief election and campaign correspondent Robert Costa joins me now from Newtown, Pennsylvania. Bob, good to see you. What began as a two-man race, essentially, has become a three-way race. Mehmet Oz, David McCormick, and Kathy Barnett. Is former President Trump's endorsement enough for the candidate known to most Americans as Dr. Oz to pull it off tonight?
Good to be with you, Ed. Dr. Oz is counting on former President Trump's endorsement to carry him across the finish line in this crowded Republican Senate primary. But talking to voters in recent days, it's clear that it might not be enough. Conservative insurgent Kathy Barnett is gaining traction with her anti-establishment message, and David McCormick, whose spouse Dina Powell served in the Trump administration, also has some support, especially in western Pennsylvania. It's a toss-up down to the wire.
You asked Kathy Barnett about what she was doing during the January 6th insurrection after a report indicated she may have spent time with the Proud Boys. What did she say to you when you were with her last night in Scranton about all this?
Ms. Barnett has not contested the images that show her walking down a street in Washington, D.C. among Proud Boys. Some of those Proud Boys later were part of the attack on the U.S. Capitol. I asked Ms. Barnett, who's seeking a seat in the U.S. Senate. The U.S. Senate has a role in certifying presidential elections. I asked her directly, did you go to the Capitol during the attack? She said, no, she did not. She got on a bus after walking through the streets and went home. And then I asked her, were you trying to overturn the election? She did not directly answer that question. She said she came to Washington to socialize, meet with friends, support then President Trump, and then return home.
Given that she's backed by the most ardent of Trump-inspired Republicans, you get any sense that Barnett has a plan to pivot to a general election focus if she wins in an upset tonight?
If anything, Ed, she's signaling that she is moving to the right. This is someone who is proud to run as a conservative. She associated in recent days with Doug Mastriano, the leading gubernatorial candidate on the Republican side. It's notable that Mastriano has effectively blocked the press from all of his events across Pennsylvania, including CBS News on Saturday, when we tried to enter a joint event for Mastriano and Kathy Barnett.
And David McCormick, of course, has been in this from the start, was a big factor, but obviously has seen Barnett sneak into this. What happened to him? And is there any sense that he could still pull this off?
It's a bit of a chess play for Mr. McCormick at this point. There was a thought among some of his allies that if Kathy Barnett started to rise, she could perhaps be eating into the coalition for Dr. Oz, and it could be a Trump versus Trump dynamic in that wing of the party, which would then create a lane for McCormick to appeal to that Pat Toomey wing, the Tom Ridge wing of the Pennsylvania Republican Party. And he would have support, they would hope, in a place like suburban Pittsburgh or here in Bucks County in suburban Philadelphia. But it doesn't seem like that is necessarily the case, though. In a crowded race, anything could happen.
Yeah. It's telling that the top three contenders on the Republican side are all people who didn't necessarily spend a lot of the time living and working in Pennsylvania. You're a Philly area native. When you watch for results later tonight, give us a sense of what one or two neighborhoods or counties in that part of the state you're going to be tracking closely to get a sense of who's going to pull ahead.
You really have to track what are called the collar counties around Philadelphia. We're standing in one right now, Bucks County, among Montgomery County and others. These are vote-rich areas that really tell you where Pennsylvania is going, because in every election in Pennsylvania, you have the two blue centers of Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, home to many Democratic voters. You have the rural red middle part of the state. And then the swing districts, the purple areas, are kind of around Pittsburgh, but especially around the so-called collar counties of Philadelphia. And in the Republican primary race, the big question is, where do these voters who have drifted in the past from being Clinton voters to Trump voters, where are they going, the Republicans, in this primary? It'll tell us a lot. And so will the Fetterman race about where the Democrats are going this fall.
Yeah. Well, we thank you for spending some time with us ahead of a big night. Robert Costa there in Newtown, Pennsylvania. Thank you.
Thank you.